Hi, and welcome to a self-published author's diary. I am Elodie Novodatsky, your host for this podcast, and I have been self-publishing since 2014. As you may hear, I have a little bit of a cold. Actually, I had bronchitis and laryngitis last week, so that's why there was not a podcast episode, and I'm going to keep this one, I believe, pretty short so that I continue to rest my voice. It is June 4th as I'm recording this, and it is 7 in the morning, and I should be cleaning my kitchen, which is what I'm going to do. But I wanted to publish an episode today because I wanted to publish an episode this week. I had recorded one actually about 2 weeks ago, but I decided to hold off a little bit until I had more information because one of my books on Amazon got blocked. So this is a numbers episode. So I'm going to tell you what happened, what I know happened. There are certain things that I don't know, and what is the situation right now. And I will give you some information about how many copies that book sold and so on and so forth. Another thing I've been doing today, which is also a numbers game, or I've been doing in the past couple of weeks, is that I have not been paid by Barnes & Noble since January 2026, and I am above the threshold. So I wrote to them, I wrote via the chat over the weekend, and I have a case number, so I'm going to try to chat with them again later today and ask if they received any more informations. I'm also trying to figure out the tax situation in Belgium, which is also a numbers game. I contacted an accountant to see if they could help me with some of my VAT reporting because I did register for VAT, so I have to do VAT reporting. And I did that because at some point I do want to open my own shop. It's not now, but I need to figure out a few things. And the accountant I reached out to told me that they did not take any new clients, so I have to try to find somebody else. And then I also have to send information to the company taking care of our taxes right now because of my husband's change of job. We have a company right now that's helping us with our taxes, both in Belgium and in the US. And because we moved, we got an extension for the US taxes. That is all set up. I was able to send everything, but the Belgian accountants or tax people are asking me for what my accountant is saying, but I don't have an accountant. I am the accountant, so I have to figure out a lot of those different things. Between Barnes & Noble, the taxes, I also have to figure out if I'm going to move or when I'm going to move my next release to, because I cannot keep it at that date. So those are some numbers that I am looking at. But when it comes to the book that Amazon blocked, there we go. The book that got blocked, and I got a notification a couple of weeks ago by KDP, is a book that was published in 2016. It is 10 years ago. This is one of my bilingual books. It is a book that had received mixed reviews because it's a bilingual book that is not for beginners, and there were some reviews mentioning that they were expecting a book to really learn the language, which is not, it's not what it is. It's a book to really help you with your language if you already are an advanced language learner. And it's not a literal translation, it's a literary translation. So some of the words may have been changed between one language to another. And so maybe that was not clear enough, and that's on me. So that's a book that as ebook in 10 years did not sell that many books. It sold about 79. Actually, it sold 83 copies and 4 got returned in 10 years. So 4 got returned in 10 years. And the book that had been blocked was the ebook. The paperback was not blocked, just the ebook. And once they removed the reviews of the ebook, then the average of that book went below a 3.0. But with the ebook, it was hovering around 4 out of 5 for a rating. So it was not like awful ratings. And I'm saying this because the first email that I've received mentioned poor customer experience, and it mentioned reviews or returns or just poor customer experience. So I got 4 returns in 10 years, which is not that bad. I mean, granted, it's not 10%, it's about 5% of return, which is a pretty high, when you look at that in percentage, it's a pretty high return rate, I feel like. But the last returns were not recently. They were really quite a long time ago. And then as paperback, I didn't have any returns at all on this book. I sold about 118 paperback copies of this bilingual book on Amazon, and there were no returns. So I am quite confused. I am quite confused because I try to understand, or I try to ask more questions, and then I got an email back saying that they were keeping their decision, and then another email saying I should review my entire catalog to make sure that the same issues did not happen. And there it was more as if it was an issue. That email talked more about metadata and guidelines. And it moved away from the poor customer experience and negative reviews or returns. It stayed with guidelines. And that really freaked me out and confused me. So I sent emails. I ended up having 2 cases numbers. I called someone. I managed to talk to someone on the phone by going via KDP and asking. And it's not like I had to use anything. I still can access my account. I can still publish books, all those things. There is something online, and I will put it in the episode description in case somebody's accounts get blocked. There are certain steps that you can take, and I'll make sure to add that link in the episode description. But it has made the rounds. Zoe York also shared it on Threads. A friend of mine also sent me the link. So I'll just make sure that link is in the episode's description in case somebody listening to this episode needs it. I went back and forth. There were several emails. I think I ended up sending about 8 emails with always the same canned response. Then I got an email saying, actually give us 5 more days. We're going to be looking more in details, or we'll get back to you. I waited very patiently for both cases, and only one actually got back to me. The other one didn't. They told me that they were again upholding their decision. They're not changing their minds. I joined the Alliance of Independent Authors. It's allianceindependentauthors.org. We empower indie authors to take control of their publishing with access to trusted resources, peer support, and a global community that has your back. I have been wanting to be a member for years. I did not contact them for this particular issue because my bilingual books have wonderful reviews across the board. They are usually above 4.2. People really enjoy them. For that particular version, I know on Amazon that at the very beginning, before I did a few changes, there may have been like a few formatting issues and that I had not seen. And then again, the fact that it was not a book for beginners seemed to have struck a chord. Again, 4 returns out of 83 sales is about 5% of returns, which again, I think is pretty high, even though it was not something that happened in the recent past. And I sold 118 paperback copies without any issues. And it's available on other e-retailers also without any problems. I don't get returns. The reviews are actually pretty good. That book also had, I think, a review about, I think it was that one, about the fact that it was not an Oscar-worthy book, but it was more of a Danielle Steele book. I think it was also on that one that I had that review. So clearly it's also people who were expecting something different, and why they put it on the bilingual book review, I'm not sure, but it is what it is. So the Alliance Independent Authors, or the Authors Guild, that also I want to join that one. If I have any more issues with my KDP account, I will be contacting them. But for this one, I decided that I didn't have the time at the moment to deal with that, because it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of brain capacity, because trying to figure out what the right steps are, trying to understand what the problem was, and trying to understand, trying to fix it, trying to make my case, And maybe it comes from the fact that when I lost access to my Facebook ads account, I tried so hard to get it back. I spent weeks trying to get it back. I spent so many hours trying to get that Facebook ads account back. And I did not at the end get it back. I did not, even though I spoke about the fact that I was in Europe at the time that they blocked it, that was going against some European regulations to not give me more information, despite the fact that they did not really review it. They didn't give me any information. I'm still clearly a little bit bitter about all of this. So I have decided for that one, I was going to take the paperback out of sale as well. So I did, because I figured if they are blocking the ebook after 10 years, they might block the paperback as well. And then I will do a new edition, which is what they said I could do in one of their first emails that they sent. So at some point I will do a new edition. I might put more parameters around it and also frame it differently so that there is no surprise about the level. And I might even add some questions at the beginning and some questions at the end. I would actually love to do like something for all my bilingual books. I would really like to frame them even more educationally so that teachers and students can use it even in a way that's more efficient for them, but also more fun. And yeah, I would really actually like to have an entire bilingual books educational brand. that would be something that I would love to work towards. But I also have a steamy rom-com that's coming out in July that I just added a prologue to because I read, and I'll do another episode about that because that's more craft related. But I listened to the latest Becca Symes episode about how to, I think it's increase the demand for your books. And then she was talking about, the dopamine hits for reader and how we need to play the game of the dopamine hits. And then how important it is to really grab the attention of the reader, but that doesn't mean go right into the action. It can mean a lot of different things. And then I had bought Margie Lawson editing so that your endings pop, and I now bought editing so that your beginnings pop. And I also had received the fulfillment of N.S. Johnson's Kickstarter on adding tension to the page, I think that was. And at the very beginning, N.S. was talking about a prologue and teaser and how to really bring the reader inside the story. So I reworked the beginning of my book, which I'm revising. So, it is a revision process. But there are also still 4 chapters I need to actually write. The issue is that I cannot write those chapters until I had figured something out, because there was still something nagging me, despite the fact that I had the entire story. And I've revised my process, that I revise what I write pretty heavily in the process of drafting. So I draft, then I revise, then I continue drafting, then I revise. So it's not like when I'm done with the book, when it says the end, I don't have 3 or 4 revisions to go through after that, because I've already done a lot of the revision and editing process. So that's currently what I'm doing. I'm at the last pass really of that book. And then I just have to make sure that I write the last 4 chapters. And I might narrate them if my voice is better, but if my voice is not better, then I need to also write them. And so that's going to take me a few days, which is why the writing will take me a few days. The finishing writing and revising and editing will take me a couple of weeks. And so the book was supposed to release July 1st. That's definitely not happening, but I cannot change it. I think I can change it a month. So I'm going to have to figure out, I need to put up Cancer Is Not My Brand up for pre-order. I have to make sure I have the other books up for pre-order, and then I have to move that particular book, I think 3 weeks. So that also gives me time to send it to a copy editor and get it back. So that's also the other step, right? I have to have a copy editor copy edit it. And so right now my goal is to finish this revision and writing. So basically finish the book in the next 2 weeks and a half. it's my top priority. It's that particular book. And then send it to a copy editor, get it back, do the advanced reader copies, and all of that. In the meantime, I also have a few parallel projects. I started revising, because I have a short story I'm expanding in a novella for a New Year's Eve like no other, which is going to be the third in Nick and M's story. And so it's, I started last night actually expanding it, and I'm having fun with it so far. I mean, granted, I did like only 45 minutes of work on it yesterday, but I cut the beginning a little bit and then starting adding a chapter. It starts with her at the airport, and then the second chapter goes back to Thanksgiving. And so it's going to be Thanksgiving through New Year's Eve, which I love writing that season. I also need to write a summer. I also applied to collaborations for next year. I have an audiobook coming out pretty soon that Megan is narrating. I was thinking about doing more French audiobooks, so I contacted somebody on Fiverr. I need to actually get back to them, but I'm also looking at my budget and trying to make sure that I'm staying within the budget. And most of my income comes at the end of the year because I write right now a lot of Christmas books. And I do have, for my Christmas wish list that's coming out in July, for Christmas in July, I do have about 60 pre-orders. It's currently on sale for 99 cents. So it's a lot. And it's also about numbers because did you like how I did that segue? Because my budget is also about numbers. And so I need to make sure that I make a profit. That's what I want. And I want to increase my profit year on year. So I have to make sure that I'm spending the money that I have and that I'm getting and I'm reinvesting into my business in a careful way. Let's put it that way. I haven't been able to continue recording the French audiobook because, as I said, bronchitis and laryngitis it's not super conducive to recording an audiobook. It's better for a podcast because even though my voice is starting to get tired, so I'm going to stop and make myself a tea, and I'm going to clean my kitchen, and then I'm going to go work on my Christmas wish list. It's easier, right? Because yes, you might not fully enjoy my voice, but it's not the same as narrating characters. And my podcast voice is a little bit different than my audiobook narration voice. So those are the news here in Belgium for me, wherever you're listening to this podcast. I hope you're having a wonderful morning, day, evening, night, whatever. I've been doing that in my newsletters, and I'm going to do that right now. I wish for your socks to be warm. I wish for your pillows to be fluffy and cold. I hope you have a book that you're getting lost into. And I wish you all the words if you're writing, or all the thinking if you need to think about the words you're going to be writing. And if you're listening to this podcast and enjoying it and want to share it with a friend, don't hesitate. Also, if you are listening to this podcast and have a few seconds to leave a review wherever you're listening to it. And thank you so much for listening to this episode. To all writers, happy writing, and to everyone, happy reading. I'll talk to you soon.